moment that soft gun regulations allow criminals and mass murderers to attack civilians under the eyes of the state is the moment that we shouldn't be allowing civilians to own handguns in the first place. Today I'm going to do two things. First of all, I'm going to explain the parameters of this motion, the definitions, and our stance regarding the motion, our model. And secondly, I'm going to introduce a constructive matter for this debate. There are going to be three arguments. The first two I'm going to present. The first of all going to be the monopoly of justice. The second one about how we're going to reduce violence. And the third one is going to be introduced by my second speaker, Lucia.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Handguns are not the problem. The problem is the much deeper and darker side of society they represent. I'm Jorge Vestas, I'm here to represent side opposition. I would like to start by explaining what our three main arguments are going to be. The first one is going to be the nature of crime. The second one is going to be the black market and the illegal selling of handguns. And the third argument is going to be introduced by our second speaker, José Luis Sarmiento. Okay, so I would like to start by doing some refutations to what Team Proposition here presented. First of all, they talked about monopoly of justice. They said that justice should not only be managed by the state. Justice should only be managed by the state. So, what does this mean? This means that civilians should have no right to decide.
My name is Lucia Bustamante and I'm the second speaker of Team Proposition defending the motion. And I will begin by refuting the main points that Team Opposition just stated. First of all, they started refuting our own arguments by saying that suicide will increase because of guns. But we did not exactly say that suicides will increase. We just said that it is easier for people to commit suicides by purchasing guns legally. Then they began talking about their argument of the dark side of society. Well, unfortunately, society is made up of criminals. Society has those people hidden within our society, and thus it is impossible to ignore the fact that criminals do exist in our society. How are we supposed to prevent them from purchasing guns if guns are legal in our country?
It's made out of criminals. Legit quote from the second speaker of Team Proposition. It is a dangerous rhetoric that it actually harms people in society, like minorities, and actually pushes them into further discrimination and actually being further segregated and ostracized from different groups. Throughout this speech, I'll do two things. First of all, I'm going to refute the points that they have brought to our side of the House today, and then I will present the third argument of Team Opposition, minorities. However, let's look first at what they have brought to us on their side of the House. The first argument was about how governments should have the monopoly of power and how it was meant for governments to actually control completely the gun regulations. We have two responses for this. First of all, they then told us that the police force is not suitable enough to actually know whose gun it was that was used in a crime. We have one question for them.
Ladies and gentlemen, guns do not kill people. People kill people. Now, I will be dividing this refutation into three criteria: the efficiency of a government, the nature of criminals, and harming society. Regarding my first point of contention, the government's efficiency. In their side of the House, they have completely assumed the fact that a government is the ideal of society. Once they have complete power, they're going to control society in a very efficient way, and everybody will be happily ever after. We say that is a complete assumption, because by giving governments such power to control complete firearm productions, we're giving governments which are not necessarily completely efficient. For example, governments in Venezuela, governments in countries that are corrupt. We're giving them power to control firearms, control guns in public.
So I'm going to talk about four things. First of all, how does the government really work? Second of all, about minorities. Third of all, about the nature of crimes. And fourth of all, about how the black market really works, because they don't seem to understand what's going on in this status quo. So let's take a look at how the government in our side of the House really works in this status quo. They have completely strawmanized our arguments. They talked about how if we do not allow firearms for the population, like these governments will be completely authoritarian and oppressive regimes. When that's